How are you saucy boys doing? Here what we can see is the finals for the Romania Pro. Obviously we are not going to use this footage to get the comparisons done, and it is going to be mainly in the top two, but nonetheless, let's get started with the review for the comparisons. Yeah, this is the good stuff, guys. So first of all, here we have, so let's be honest, guys. This is an extremely tough one to call. I will not like to be the judge in this one. These guys are so close to each other that it is really a toss-up. You can see from the legs, top to bottom, they are extremely comparable. I could say that maybe Berus have a little bit of a better shape and a better biceps overall, but Brett Wilken have a little bit of a better midsection and also, very importantly, more detail throughout the legs. So it's a really tough call. Just take a look here. How wide both of them look. Obviously, as I said at the start, Berus is going to have the advantage structurally, but let's be honest, Brett is not that far off from him. So it's not really a clear-cut winner. If we are going with what the judges probably are looking at, I think that we will be going with Barros. Why? He have better arms, superior structure, and conditioning is comparable. Maybe Brett might have a little bit more detail through the legs, but there's not like a huge difference in regards of their conditioning. They are very comparable in that one. Then, going with the next shot, we have the front lat spread. And it's a little bit of the same story here. The main difference is how the lats flare for Brett, and I will lean towards more Brett than Berus in this one. The two main reasons besides the lat spread will be the midsection and also the detail in the legs. Even though Berus' legs are more filled out, I think that the extra detail that Brett Wilken have may be giving him an edge. Nonetheless, I personally believe they are very comparable, and even though Brett is filling this pose up better than Berus, it is not like a wiping difference. It will go either way. It really comes down to personal preference at this point. And also probably what the judges just saw, it's like a more complete package on the side of Berus. Because as you can see, he have all the striations, the granite hard conditioning, plus a better structure. So it was, as I say at the start, not really like an extremely big difference, but we can see with these little sudden differences how Berus might get an edge in other poses. In this one, personally, due to the lats and due to the legs, I almost 100% going with Brett. But I don't know, guys. Let's go with the next poses in our arsenal. Let's check with the side triceps. Just see these two beasts on the side triceps. Just take a look how detailed they are. To be honest, it is really hard. I cannot imagine how the judges were able to come up with this one, because it's a extremely good match. Even though probably the posing of Brett Wilken it's a little bit better, but the fullness throughout the arm and the big man's chest for Berus, also that hanging hamstring that he has is much more bigger. It's just meatier, and much more detailed through the glutes. Also, Berus is sitting a little bit lower than Brett, But nonetheless, the midsection, the flow, it is somewhat reminiscent of feel hit, the way that Brett is posing. So, being realistic, this is another shot that could go either way. And not just either way, just take a look at the detail that these two guys bring. This is what we would love to see from all top pros, to be honest with you. These guys with just a little bit more mass, not that much, just enough to hang up with the top dogs, they are going to be unstoppable. Just mark my words, these two guys are some of the best coming up guys that we have right now. Going with the other side pose, as it is the side chest. Here is where I think that Berus was getting an edge. And probably this is one of the poses that start switching it up towards Berus' favor. I'm going to explain why. Just take a look at the hanging hamstring and the glutes. Also, he looks much more filled out than Brett. Even though Brett looks good, probably by his own, Berus just looks overall better and more filled out. Plus, he's almost dwarfing Brett in terms of size on the arms, especially on the arm department. I don't know if this is more like the way Brett is posing, not really opening up enough, which makes him look not that big and is making him look small. But to be honest, this one goes to Berus Tabani. This is I personally believe this is the first one that goes to Berus, like 100%. All of the others were very close, but this one is is the one which takes the cake. Then for the next pose, this is the first back pose, and here is where Brett is losing ground against Berus. I'm going to be honest. The glutes on Brett, they are very feel hit esque. It's very rare nowadays to see glutes like Brett, like the Brett glutes, like those striation piano wires, as Nick Trigili will say. But besides that, he's higher in certain nuts. I think that they do not help. Also, that he needs to lean more forward, like so he creates that illusion of having lower insertion for the lats. So I think that here for sure Barros is looking better, and I personally believe that if he were to flex his glutes a little bit more, he could look even better in this pose. This one goes to Berus Tabani, but I think that this one can even be improved by Berus for the time that the Olympia is on. So here is where Brett continues losing the ground. Then the next pose, this one should be an easy win for Burrows, especially because here he's flexing those hamstrings and those glutes, which make them look almost as striated as Brett Wilkins. Here is the catch. Brett is posing much better. I personally feel that if he was not to get like this type of posing, if he didn't have these little tweaks to his posing, probably the victory of Berus Tabani will be a lot more convincing. Because if Berus were posing like Brett Wilken, due to his superior height, he probably will be winning this pose hands down. Because he has the bigger traps, the bigger lats, the lower lat insertions. He even is much wider than Brett. So, realistically speaking, this should be a Berus pose, but he's not really posing it as he should. So, I personally believe that if he can make these little adjustments, he could be great come Olympia time. because he's already pretty good. He comes in shape, he comes built to the bone. Also, he's not missing any body parts. So, going to the next pose, here we have the abs and thighs. And this is another tough one. Brett Wilkin have like somewhat of a longer torso, which does not help him a lot from the back, but from the front, especially in this specific pose, he's looking insane. Then, in the other hand, even though Brett have better separation through the abs and more deeper cuts, Berus just flares more. And not just flares more, he has the smaller midsection. So in terms of the X-frame that these two guys create, Berus is getting ahead in this one. I personally believe that what gave here an edge to Berus was his structure. Once again, as they are somewhere in the same level of conditioning and mass, let's be honest, a little bit of a better structure is going to win you the show. So that's probably the main reason why, in the judges' eyes, Berus was the better bodybuilder today. And this is not to take anything out from Berus, but it could go either way. I will not really complain if it went through towards Brett Wilkin. And obviously, a lot of us will prefer to see Brett Wilkin as we already know the guy. But to be honest, after seeing the package that he just brought with the improvements, especially on the size department, it's mind blowing. And also, he has this trademark conditioning that Iranian guys have, similar to what Hari Chupan has, which is this pretty detailed and striated packages that they have, probably because of the training that they do. To be real honest, it's just mind blowing to see these two guys in the same stage. And now with the most muscular, it's another hard pick. Because yeah, Berus is somewhat of the wider guy here. He has the bigger overall arms. But Brett, he's just filling up this pose a little bit more. So this one, I'm going to give it to Brett Wilkin. Obviously, Berus took more poses than Brett, and he was overall more complete. But in this one, I think that Brett can pull ahead, as this one is one of his better poses. Also, I, I'm really wishing that Berus gets his visa so he can get to the United States and place on the Olympia. I personally believe that even though there are like around 30 guys, and probably it's going to be just a fight to try to place, it is going to be possible for Berus to give it a shot and place at the Olympia. To be real honest with you guys. And also, in another note, before we wrap up this one, let me know, what do you think? Where do you think that Berus can place during this year's Olympia? Do you guys think that he can crack the top 16? Because let's be honest, guys, even getting into the top 16 during this year, it's going to be a hell of a fight. I am going to post some updates of guys that are just getting like from the top 7 to the top 16, and some of them might not even place. And guys, just let me know, what do you think? Do you think Brett was robbed at this one, or do you think Berus was the rightful winner? Let me know in the comments below. And goodbye, saucy guys. See you later.